Hello everyone, this is Kelly Davis, NLP practitioner, timeline therapist, hypnotherapist, and life and business coach. This is Permission to Breathe day 28, and we have 4 days left of this particular challenge. And what I've done today is, as I'm starting to think about February's challenge and starting to formulate my goal for February, is starting to look back on the goal that I had for January and how I'd set up that goal and what I've needed to amend during the course of the month and how close I've come to achieving. So at the beginning of January, there was an initial goal of achieving 1 minute a day of conscious breathing, increasing by 1 minute a day to 31 minutes by the 31st of January. The reason that I gave for doing it was to experience an improvement in both my mental and physical health as a result of the daily practice and sticking to a daily practice. I had written a set of requirements of what I needed to achieve the goal. One of them was a commitment to post on YouTube every day, allowing myself the time and finding a space and a time in order to actually do the conscious breathing daily, giving myself the space required, so finding a workable space. And of course I've moved spaces this month, so there were some challenges around that. Keeping a journal, so part of keeping the journal is to do these daily posts. Keeping a record of any changes to my physiognomy as well, also doing the exercise. And initially it was setting an alarm clock. So if I go through where I started at the beginning of the month to where I've got to now, sort of four days till the end of challenge, there are a couple of interesting things to take note of. One, I definitely have achieved the mental and physical health that I'd wanted to by being more conscious. And it wasn't just of my breathing. I started to become more conscious of the food that I was taking in. I haven't had any alcohol this month. I've been a lot more aware and more conscious of what I'm putting into my body. And what's happened is that I've become a lot more aware of what is happening inside my body. So the messages that my body is telling me. I did this practice along with 2,000 skips a day, which was another challenge that I was doing with somebody else. And that challenge started by saying that I would do 2,000 skips a day for the entire month of January. And what has happened is that I have had to amend that slightly during the month through I've had 3 days where I haven't achieved the skipping challenge, but what I've done is I've had to amend to make it that I complete 31 days times 2,000 steps. So it means that even though I've missed 3 days, I haven't, I've still achieved the number of steps. So there was some movement in there that I needed to readjust. And it's very important when we set a goal that we do check on our goal during the month or during the time period and see where adjustments need to be made or can be made in order to make it a more realistic and achievable goal. Because sometimes, rather than failing at the goal completely and just completely giving up at the first hurdle, is to just readjust. So that was one of the readjustments that I made on that particular goal. And I have actually stuck to it, and I'm feeling pretty proud. One of the achievements that I wanted from the skipping was to lose weight. Now, I haven't achieved that, despite concentrating on my food and everything else. However, we are in a lockdown, and so there is very little other exercise that I get other than making sure that I do the skips a day. I sometimes get out for a run, otherwise I run stairs. But compared to my previous lifestyle, which was on my feet 12, 14 hours a day, running around like a crazy lady, I'm actually spending a lot more time very still, more in a meditative state, more in a conscious being state. And so I'm not burning the calories. So even though I've made all the adjustments, so the one positive thing is that physically I can see the change in my body. I can feel it in terms of my strength. But in terms of the actual weight loss, that hasn't happened. My centimeters are pretty much still the same. It's just that the shape is starting to be a bit more defined in terms of muscle. With regards to finding space and finding time, Time is less of an issue, except that there are other people in the house, so some of these things have to be worked around other people. And also in terms of space, it's a shared space, and so something like the skipping, I require an open space without people in it, or people that are willing to sit still for the period of time that it takes me to do the skips. The conscious breathing, or just being conscious of things, initially it was almost meditative, so I needed a quiet space, but because that has developed into just being conscious as often as possible during a day, therefore it's less about it being a quiet time and being able to focus my mind and be conscious even when there is a noise around. So I've moved the meditational practice to very early in the morning and to very late at night when nobody else is moving around, so that I can focus on the meditation specifically. But actually doing conscious breathing exercises have not necessarily been required, because it's part of the meditative process that I do in the morning and in the evening. It's been a fantastic process for me. I feel incredible. And I feel very balanced and at peace. So in terms of the mental and physical health, it has helped with both. And the other thing that it's done for me is, from a self-esteem point of view, that I have always found it very difficult to stick to goals and see them through until the end. So there are a couple of things that I did in order to help me with that. One is I put up a calendar, and I wrote down every day what I had achieved on that day, and I have it in front of me on a wall so that I can't miss it. And when I wake up in the morning, it's one of the first things that I see, and I know that I have to tick off certain things during the day in order to have achieved these goals. And it really has helped me keep on track. I've used colors. I've also put motivational quotes and certain mantras that I use throughout the day that have also helped me keep on track in terms of the consciousness. They have been particularly helpful, and those developed throughout the month. It wasn't something that I had looked at when I started the month, but it is certainly something that developed throughout the month. As I came across them, I added them into my practice in order to make it easier, or in order to support it. Yeah, guys, it's been an incredible process. The one thing that I found extremely difficult, one is that the YouTube channel that I've set up, I find it difficult creating content every single day. I have a lot of respect for people who create content for training, for just personally online, for businesses. It is quite a difficult thing to do, to come up with new content and to make sure that it is relevant to what you are doing, especially when you are in lockdown and there are very few other experiences that are going on in your life. You have to draw from a pool of very little. When we're out there living our lives, having content and having things to talk about is a fairly easy thing to do. But so the biggest difficulty for me has been these recordings, finding time within a day when I feel okay to come on, making sure that I've planned enough to actually say enough. You'll see some of my videos are very short and probably lack content. So this was more difficult. However, through that difficulty, did keep me in line for making sure that I actually achieved, because I was being held accountable by whoever is watching the videos. Even if nobody was watching, there was always the possibility that somebody would. So it's accountability becomes a very important thing. And we have accountability to self, but it's always good, a good push if we have if we know that somebody else is also keeping check and relying on what we're doing. So that was that. Yes, next month. So what I'm looking at for next month is, as I've discussed, next month I will continue with the meditation, morning and evening. And what I'm going to add to that is, and at this point, I don't know whether this is an achievable goal, and it will be something that I will need to check and amend as I go. It's a yoga challenge. The first and most difficult hurdle is that it needs to be done at 5:30 in the morning. It is Surya Namaskar, which is the sun salutation. I am not an early bird. This is probably going to be my most difficult sticking point, is getting up every day at the same time before the household wakes up to do this challenge. So that's the first hurdle and the first step that I'll have to see whether I'm capable of doing. The second is the number of sets of movements that I need to do. So the idea is to build up to 108 by the end of the month. 108 is a sacred figure, and I'll give you some more information on that as I get into next month's challenge. But starting with 24 on Monday the 1st and building up slowly throughout the month. And again, I will need to adjust this as I go. One, if the early mornings become a difficulty and I feel like I'm going to fail based on the fact that I can't get up early enough. And number two will be the number of them, whether I'm fit enough to actually achieve this goal. So I will be writing this goal out in the next couple of days with an idea to make sure that I have an achievable outcome when I set the goal, and that it is realistic at the end of the day. And it may be that the original goal that I set may definitely need adjustment, or I may be absolutely fantastic at it. So for me, it's worth a try, and it's definitely worth the effort. I think last month's achievement has given me motivation to strive for something even better next month. And again, it will be around something that's more devotionally based. That this is, again, very much for me, and not out of a fitness goal, but more out of this conscious focus to myself and what is going on in my body, to allow myself to feel more, to see more, to hear more, to experience more of the world, and by being more in tune with who I am internally. On that note, I hope all of you have had a wonderful month, and I hope that this has helped some of you to get through the month. I know that there are people out there who are struggling at the moment, and perhaps this small exercise has assisted. This is a challenge that can be done at any time. You don't have to start with 1 minute. You don't have to end on 31, and you don't have to necessarily set it as a month. You could set for a week. You could set it to see how many times you can do conscious breathing during a day. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, it's also a good way to get out of your mind and to focus on something different. If anybody is looking for assistance to make changes, if you are struggling with anxiety, depression, addiction, or if you find that you are struggling with working from home at the moment and you need some support on how to plan your life, get your work done, I am working online currently. So you're more than welcome to send me a message via Facebook, my Facebook page, Kelly Davis Coaching and Therapies. Otherwise, you're welcome to comment via the YouTube channel. I'm also on LinkedIn under Kelly Davis, and you're welcome to get hold of me via LinkedIn if you need to. Again, under Kelly Davis. And yes, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will check in with you again tomorrow to see how we're wrapping up nearer the end of this month. And that's me for today. Awesome. Check you later.